So welcome. I hope everybody's energised and fully informed from the keynote. You can share it with us after because we didn't get to go. So we're looking forward to the replay later. Welcome to our conversation about revolutionizing finance in banking while flying at 40,000 feet. The flying at 40,000 feet we'll explain. There's a lot going on, and Raz, who's with me, I'll introduce in a moment, will explain some of the challenges the bank had doing a lot of transformation at the same time. So welcome to our conversation. I'm David Kelly. I'm the Oracle lead partner in KPMG Australia, and I'll be talking with you today. And with me is Raz, go by Raz, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Judo. I'll get Raz to introduce herself, but also I think it's really important for you to have some context for who is Judo. Judo are what we call in Australia a challenger bank. They're a relatively new bank, but they are growing tremendously. And Raz is going to give us a little bit of history and a bit of a kind of explanation of what Judo is. Raz.
Thank you, David. Hi, everyone. So Judo Bank, we are a specialist pure play small business lender, founded in 2016. We would claim that there is no other bank like Judo, either in Australia or internationally. The co-founders of Judo, when they set it up, believed that there was a market failure in the availability of credit to our small business customers in the market, a gap that the financial system in Australia could not solve on its own. Our core lending franchise is built on the belief that every small business is unique and deserves a relationship with their bank that is founded on trust, an understanding of exactly who they are and what they need, and exceptional customer service. We have long felt that SMEs in Australia have been taken for granted, underserved by the rest of the industry, who've really prioritised mortgage lending in the Australian market. They've industrialised their operating models, and they've really diminished the relationship proposition that they have with their customers. And so Judo listed on the Australian Stock Exchange in 2021, and fast forward to today, Judo is the fastest challenger bank anywhere in the world to reach profitability. We have 31 locations across Australia. We have about 5,000 lending customers, about 53,000 deposit customers. We have about $13 billion in lending and about $10 billion in our deposit book, and 31 locations, which I said, across Australia. Building a bank from a blank sheet of paper, which is essentially what Judo did, allowed us to really create a very unique culture, and a culture that was single-mindedly focused on our purpose. We employ people that are passionate about small business, and we have market-leading infrastructure that allows us to serve SMEs better than any other bank in the Australian market. But our secret sauce is actually that we hire the best bankers in the Australian market. Bankers who have deep experience and deep skills in being able to understand our small business customers and be able to actually provide judgment-based lending decisions. So we don't use algorithms, we don't use models to make credit decisions. We used our really skilled and experienced bankers to make the right decisions for our customers. So a little bit more about Judo.
We're challenging the status quo. We're a legacy-free bank. We were built from a PowerPoint presentation from a blank piece of paper with the sole focus of providing the best service to small and medium-sized businesses. This is the challenger mindset. It's a very exciting time for us, and this is why we've been so successful in attracting the very best business bankers.
Find out what boldly backing business actually looks like. The expert bankers at Judo Bank choose to come and work for Judo Bank so they can enjoy the craft of true relationship banking.
We know that every single small and medium-sized business is unique. They all have a unique set of requirements which Judo is set up to provide.
Customer value proposition really focuses on getting the best bankers in the market. We have an operating model that ensures that our bankers are spending as much time with their customers and as little time doing bureaucratic administrative tasks as possible.
Our strategy is really anchored around the best of the past with the best of today. The best of the past was very much that highly skilled, highly trained relationship banker, bankers with exceptional credit risk management skills, exceptional interpersonal skills. They're empowered to make decisions quickly, and they can build an enduring, trusted relationship with their clients over many, many years. The best of today is today's technology, today's pace, and today's science of how to use data and a digitisation agenda so that our business bankers can spend significantly more time with their customers.
Any bank can tell their customers that they love them, but the folks at Judo Bank are on a mission to prove it.
You're going to want to hear this.
Have a listen to these true Judo stories.
Judo Bank have been absolutely critical to our growth. It's been a fast growth period. Judo have been there with us the whole way, and we're looking forward to growing the business even more.
We've built a team around us, and Judo are a huge part of that team.
We have had some extremely significant growth from where we started to where we are now.
Since Judo has come on board, we've been able to grow the business substantially.
With Judo's help, we have achieved our projections, which is now allowing us to grow the business even further.
The future of Remax Revolution is big, and we're looking forward to a lot of growth with Judo. We're so excited.
With Judo on board, it's helped us more than double our business.
We're not here to build a small bank.
Okay, so our journey started since we actually started the bank, or since the bank was founded. We used Xero as our general ledger, and we appreciated for a number of years that there were some deficiencies in that particular platform around user access control, change management, payment file creation, journal entries, a range of deficiencies in the current platform, or the platform that we were using. For us to meet the basic expectations of our regulators, we basically decided to pursue the implementation of a new general ledger. In October 2020, we acquired MyOB Advanced and started on the journey of implementing a new GL on MyOB. In August 2022, we stopped that implementation. It was basically challenging on many fronts, and so we went back out to market to look for a more appropriate partner. We did a market scan, identified 17 potential options for us, and we basically refined that to a short list of 5 vendors. Oracle outperformed on basically all of our requirements, and so they met all of our functional needs, had a significantly lower cost of ownership over a 5-year period, and were a more robust and industry-leading solution in the financial services market. We then went on the hunt for an SI partner and looked at 3 potential partners. We really wanted a partner that knew us, knew our organisation and our unique culture, had done this before, and so we ended up selecting KPMG as our implementation partner. KPMG submitted a bid that actually really truly knew Judo and Judo's culture. They understood our people, they understood our environment, and they understood what we actually wanted to get out of this implementation. They had great domain expertise, and also under the powered methodology that we'll talk a little bit about later on, provided us with the comfort and the confidence that they had a solid plan to get us to where we needed to be. And they were very competitive in terms of pricing. We are a very small bank in the Australian market, and so every cent that we spent was really important to us.
Okay. The way that we're going to do the next kind of half an hour or so is in a couple of chunks. So we're going to talk about the transformation journey that Judo have gone through. Then we're going to talk about the outcomes of that transformation. So it's really important when you frame a transformation journey that you understand and target the outcomes across that. And then we're going to do a bit of Q&A, and then we'll open up if there's any questions from the floor. Okay. Going into the transformation, there were kind of 8 core objectives that you can see on the screen. We're not going to go through every one, given the time that we've got. But we did want to lock in on a couple of those and anchor back to how they helped Judo achieve the objective of the transformation. So first and foremost, simplified and standardized. You heard Raz before mention KPMG Powered. That gave Judo the ability to pick up a standardized target operating model across finance understand how it could be used, the implications of that in a finance function, and deploy that across the business. That gave standardized functions and a real understanding for how finance should operate in a target operating model. The adopt, don't adapt. Powered gives you a strong reference base in the target architecture and the target operating model on an out-of-the-box solution which is built on the Fusion platform. It gives you industry-aligned process models and industry-aligned outcomes across the ways of working, and it's built on the adoption of standard processes. So you hear a lot the term out of the box. That is exactly what the approach here that we did with Judo, and you'll hear a bit later on how we achieved and what percentage we achieved as we went through that journey of deploying a cloud-based platform. Employee-friendly experience. One of the key things, Judo were moving, you've heard the, MyOb, which is manage your own business. It's an application in Australia, to a cloud-based solution like Oracle. One of the key things was ensuring that the user experience was seamless. The adoption, the training, the change management that went with that program into the user experience once they were deployed and live. And there was a lot of effort that was put into that, ensuring that that user experience was good and healthy. And you'll hear a little bit later on, there was a lot of change going on at Judo whilst this program was operating. So that user experience through that change management was really important. And a simple integrated cloud solution. It was really important. One of the key choices around choosing Oracle that you've heard was the integrated data platform and bringing that simplified cloud solution that we're able to take data from a ledger through Accounting Hub into EPM and drive an end-to-end process for finance. And that was an objective right from the start to simplify the finance processes, to drive efficiency to the bank. And you've heard Raz talk about the growth that Judo is experiencing. It was really important that this solution that we deployed enabled that, not hindered it. There are 4 key items. I'll pick on timely before we move on. What was really important about the Judo implementation? We did it within a year. And that was why there was a tremendous amount of change going on in Judo at that time. It was a team effort, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So the timing of the insights was around ensuring that we worked to the rhythm of the bank, to the rhythm of what was going on as we were going through the transformation. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment or two. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the selection and what we actually put in. People are probably really interested in the detail of this. I'll let you read the bits in green. That is the scope that we implemented for Judo. Over a year in that journey, what was really clear as we went through the deployment was the needs of a growing bank, the adopter challenger bank, was driving the way in which the product would be released through the deployments and go lives. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on, about what we chose to go live first with, how that then rolled into EPM and the Accounting Hub, and how Judo then used that. And we drive support through our AMS evolution services to now support Judo in that deployment. Okay. So it's really important that we explain the timeline, and there's no better person to do that than Raz.
I actually think probably you're a better person to explain this timeline than I am, but let me have a go. So we took a very traditional approach to this project. We had a hybrid model. We used some agile methodology, but we also used some traditional waterfall methodology. Once we had our partners on board, once we decided KPMG were going to be working with us, we stood up an internal cross-functional team. So a team that was focused on delivery, but we also used obviously some of our finance SMEs to support the program. When KPMG joined us, we were simultaneously doing our core banking replacement, we were modernising our credit risk engine, and we were also overhauling our data infrastructure. So there was a lot going on in the bank at that time. What this required was a partnership capable of operating across multiple domains, and a partnership that was actually able to kind of connect the dots for us, have the right conversations with the right people, and really help us drive those outcomes that we talk about. The foundational project phases really focused on cross-functional workshops, using the pre-constructed future state processes that form part of KPMG's powered methodology. And this was really to make sure that we understood what our future state processes needed to look like. In the following phases, the team configured and built solution components based on the future state designs that we had agreed up front. And then we did system testing and user acceptance testing. As with any great program, didn't all go to plan, it didn't all go on track. So we needed to actually build and test simultaneously to keep the actual project on track. And as I said, we had this added complexity of migrating to our new core banking platform, of which the primary ERP go live was a dependency. The planning was really tightly sequenced with our core banking replacement. If anyone that's lived through a core banking replacement knows, it's a fairly stressful time, and so we needed to make sure that we were sequencing stuff in the right way. The KPMG suggested that we go live in Big Bang over 2 weekends, which we agreed to. We launched core banking in August of 2024. And we launched our Oracle implementation in September. So both programs successfully landed on time and on budget.
Thanks, Raz. That's a great story. And when you consider what was done in that period of time, it's nothing but amazing. We'll talk a little bit about that challenge of so much going on at the same time in a moment. Let's talk about the outcomes. So going through this transformation, you can see here the timeline, the decision points as we go through the powered phases, through the validate, construct, and into the deployments. It's really important that we blended in the objectives of the program and the outcomes that the business expected to see. So let's talk about those. Kind of 3 layers we've built them into. The foundation, so what was the minimum expectation, the foundation that the business were going to get. The emerging, both from a technology and a process point of view, and then the future growth capability. And I'm going to pick on a couple of those. Around the foundation, without a doubt, using the Oracle Fusion platform, driving a single source of truth is very achievable. What we actually see now in the platform is Judo's ability to take the financial planning activities, the ledger activities, and plan out a finance function that drives a single source of truth. A single source of truth that's accessible in an easy-to-use platform, and that's driven a huge efficiency drive for the bank. Improved reporting capability, we've just talked about that, around giving the bank a platform that is able to report at quite an involved level. The EPM module gave them a really great reporting tool, and they've got the standard Oracle empowered reporting platforms within the platform solution. Governance and controls, without a doubt. Everybody in here is probably familiar with Oracle. The governance and controls, the security profiles that we were able to put in, the segregation of duties, the approval processes, that gave Judo a real ability to start building a true platform governance around finance. Standardized processes, we've talked about powered, lifting that powered process, the target operating model, and I think we achieved around 95% adoption of the standard out-of-the-box powered processes. What that enables is the timeline that you saw on the previous slide. If you start modifying, deviating from standard powered, that then pushes out a timeline, and we found by introducing industry vertical solutions of powered, we're able to drive an adoption that can go down a certain path that protects the timelines for implementations. And we heard this morning from Oracle CEO that came into a session I was in, that people are looking for more rapid deployments of Oracle solutions. They're not interested in multiple year transformations, and the powered methodology and adopting to standard processes gives us that ability. And then last but not least, increased automation and integration. One of the key decisions why Oracle was put out, you've heard from Raz. At an emerging level, Operational efficiencies and the standard processes from AP, AR, General Ledger, Accounting Hub gave some real efficiencies and allowed the finance team to focus on providing finance to the Judo business and operations. Traceability and accountability, well, that's pretty standard, you would hope that, but the depth that they can go into within Oracle has given them great traceability around the financial reporting for the bank. And you heard Raz talk about the regulatory compliance that the bank has had to go through, and that has given them a great foundation to do that. User self-service speaks for itself. The finance across the bank now is from a single source of truth, from a single solution. There's not multiple areas of configuration around that. It's out of the box. And then enabled continuous improvement. So through the KPMG Evolution services that we provide to Judo, we've now got a continuation of improvement and activities that look around the new releases of Oracle that are coming out, how the new functionality can be adopted, and that continuous improvement drive further efficiencies across the bank. And then from a growth point of view, better insights. There's a lot coming through in Oracle around how they drive that insights, and hopefully we'll hear a little bit more today. I don't know what was shared. You guys can tell me from the keynote. Obviously, I'm hoping there were a couple of announcements that will help make some of those for the bank. And then finance value as a business partner. As part of our transformation, we also looked about what is the future of finance. How does the finance function of the future adopt AI? How does the finance function take an emerging capability, moving from a MyOb solution into an Oracle Cloud solution? And we spent a lot of time talking about finance operations.
And what I would say on the growth point, David, just to reinforce that, is we are relatively early on our journey of using Oracle, and so our ability to really get our people to understand the full availability and optionality within Oracle, and to actually use that to better partner with our business, to provide them with more insights, to get better reporting and information from the system, is actually still in front of us. So there's a lot of stuff that is still available to Judo as an organisation, and certainly to our finance teams in terms of some of the capability that we now have within our organisation.
All right. So when we consider how we approach the journey driving to the outcome, it's really important to spend a moment looking at the outcomes of that transformation.
Yeah, so one of the key outcomes for us obviously was delivering our core banking platform as well as delivering our GL. And so running multiple platform replacements in parallel takes a certain amount of crazy, which we definitely had, but really demands flexibility, effective dependency management, and very rapid decision making. And so we had to pivot a number of times. One of the largest pivots we made was we leveraged the Oracle accounting capability to act as an intermediary to perform sub-ledger accounting and rules engine mapping for our new core. So rather than building, making the changes in our core technology, in our thought machine, what we did is we fast-tracked some of the Oracle build so that we could actually integrate the new core into the Oracle platform. Yeah, and so within 4 months, we actually had discovered, so kind of understood the solution that we potentially wanted to run. We ran a POC to make sure it was going to work. We didn't want to mess anything up in core. We validated and deployed an Oracle to Thought Machine integration into production, and that was within kind of 4 months. So a huge, a huge outcome for our teams and for both the core replacement, but also the Oracle implementation. When it came to the broader ERP implementation, its success was really underpinned by some very disciplined approach to project deployment. And again, a lot of that came out of the powered methodology. A lot of it came out of the way the KPMG team and the Judo team were working together. We implemented 8 modules, Oracle modules, over that time. The General Ledger, the Accounting Hub, Accounts Payable, Purchasing, Cash Management, Fixed Assets, Project Cost Accounting, and Plan to Perform. Again, a massive, massive achievement over a very, very short period of time. And then in terms of how we work together, we've already spoken about this a little bit. We utilise a cross-functional team to get this done. We used pre-constructed future state processes, very few customisations, and so we had a very clear set of goals, a very clear vision, and the project team, both the KPMG team and the Judo team, aligned really well behind those clear goals and that clear vision.
So Raz, I can ask you, through that you've explained an awful lot of things going on, from core banking through to an ERP in finance. That's a huge amount for a small growing bank who are focused on growth and securing new clients. How did you all cope with that?
I think there was a certain degree of, well, there was a lot of trust between kind of the KPMG team and the Judo team. We really relied on the expertise of the KPMG team to actually lead us through this. We had obviously a very, we were a young organisation, and an organisation that hadn't really dipped our toe into large scale changes. As I pointed out, we had zero for the first kind of 8-9 years of our being, and so trusting a partner who's experienced in this sort of implementation was actually really important for us, and the KPMG team let us align to a set of really clear goals. We tested those goals on a regular basis. We spent a lot of time working together, and as I said earlier, KPMG knew us. They knew our organisation, they knew our culture, they knew our ways of working. So I think together we kind of got through the 12 months, the crazy 12 months that was.
Time.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. We're going to do a bit of Q&A. I'm going to quiz Raz now on a couple of questions.
It feels like you already have, Dave.
So we're going to do a bit of a deep dive. I'm very conscious of time, so we'll only do a couple, and then we'll throw to questions in the room if we've got any. So Raz, first question for you. Every program has got challenges. I'm sure people expect that large implementations go seamlessly. They don't always go seamlessly. Maybe you could share a couple of those challenges and how the team together overcame those.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first challenge for us was we used the powered methodology because it was the right answer for us. It certainly fast-tracked our implementation. What we weren't that good at was actually validating our current processes versus our future state process, and really understanding that gap, understanding kind of the difference between where we were and where we were going. And what that led to is a number of kind of our team members not following us on the journey. So first of all, being really clear about where you are and where you need to be from a process perspective, and making sure that everyone understands that. Secondly is actually really focusing on the change management activity behind the implementation. So training, communication, again, making sure that your future state processes are mapped, that people understand what they're doing. I think we underinvested in change management in Judo for this particular implementation, and we've had to go back and we've had to do some remedial work with our teams around kind of what the processes look like, training on the system. The other thing that I would say is we also had a number of key business people, both from a technology and a finance perspective, move off the program or move out of the bank during that time. And so continuity of leadership, both from a business and a technology perspective, is actually really, really important. And then finally, I'd say pick a partner that you trust. Because you're relying on that team to actually help you and navigate you through this process. So it's really, really important that you pick someone that you trust.
Internally, we do certification and training on Powered. I think I need to give Raz one of our badges on Powered. You're a big advocate, thank you. All right, next question for you. You've talked a lot about Powered today, and we've seen what impact that had. Can you talk about its role in the success of the program and the timeline that you've talked about?
Yeah, yep. So Powered, as we've said many times, is basically represents the best way to operate. Right? It's tried, it's tested, it's proven, and so it helped us accelerate our delivery. It helped us minimise customisations, it helped us to reduce risk of the program, not only in terms of delivering to our end state or delivering to our budget and our timelines, but also making sure that we delivered the goals and the original kind of guiding principles that we set out for ourselves at the beginning of the program. The methodology actually provided us with a lot more structure and is a very efficient way to implement an ERP.
Okay, thank you. All right, I couldn't do this at AI World without asking an Oracle question. And you've talked a little bit about the process that Judo went through to select Oracle. Maybe you can give us some kind of flavour around, the process and the benefits of the Fusion implementation that you're starting to see now.
Yeah, so we started the implementation with some really key and core guiding principles about what we needed from a platform, and one of the key ones was the ADI experience. We wanted to make sure that any platform that we put into the organisation had been tried and tested in other financial services organisations, and it had the ability to comply, more importantly, with APRA standards. And APRA is an Australian regulator, and so we needed to make sure that it could kind of tick all the boxes from an APRA perspective. We wanted the ability to adopt and not adapt. We had very, very manual processes in the bank. We had a lot of inconsistency in terms of the way people were doing things, and so we wanted to standardise our processes and we wanted to adopt best practice, essentially. We are a cloud-based bank, and so being cloud-based was actually critical for us. So any platform had to be cloud-based. It had to have strong integration and data aggregation ability, and it had to have strong controls. One of the things that our audit partners had told us about the way our previous platform was operating was that we didn't have the required controls for a bank, essentially. So we needed strong controls within any platform that we chose. Ultimately, Oracle scored highest across the board on all of these requirements. They met all of our functional requirements for finance, and they also scored higher across technology and had significantly more industry leading financial services adoption in not just the Australian market but globally. And then finally, over a 5-year term, Oracle was actually had a lower total cost of ownership. And so, as I said, for a relatively small bank, this was incredibly important for us.
So I've got a question with that notice.
Yeah, excellent.
And I know you're passionate about this sort of stuff. Judo is a modern bank, is a challenger bank. You've got different ways of working. You walk around the bank and it's, the way that the teams interact are fantastic. Yep. And we saw that about, when the kickoff and how everybody came together. Can you just talk a little bit about how KPMG adapted to those Judo ways of working and how the team came together to drive the program?
Yeah, I will say that the program was incredibly collaborative and very iterative, right? So we workshopped a lot. We spent a lot of time with each other. KPMG spent a lot of time with us up front, understanding who we were as a bank, understanding our vision, understanding our strategy, and so they kind of really knew us. We also spent a lot of time setting some really clear goals about what we wanted to achieve out of this program. And we went back and we tested those, kind of how we were tracking to those goals on a really regular basis. So there was a lot of, a lot of working together and a lot of, kind of moving forward, testing stuff, retesting stuff, and I don't mean kind of functional testing. I mean, are we heading in the right direction? Are we aligned with the goals that we set at the beginning of the program? So, very open dialogue, lots of challenge, lots of respectful challenge throughout the course of the program. And a really successful outcome.
Great, thank you. All right, that is the end of our session. Thank you very much. We will open it up to Q&A, and we've been asked to put that on the end of every session so you can give us some feedback.
Firstly, congratulations at that accounting hub. So what was the information you're passing through? I'm assuming that your core GL banking was doing the accounting at that loan level. So are you passing the aggregates to the accounting hub, or are you passing each transaction by transaction to the accounting hub and then the GL?
Okay. I'm going to defer that answer to somebody who will know the answer to that question.
I was heading over there as well.
Yeah.
So the core GL, the core banking was not doing accounting.
No.
So business events and all. Yes.
All right.
Thanks, David.
Oh, at the back first, not you, Stuart. You're next.
What's the future look like for the implementation of partnership? What are the next steps?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think, as I said before, we're less than 12 months into this journey, and I think bedding down our current processes, our current system, helping our people to be a lot more familiar with the functionality and really exploit what we've implemented is probably our short to medium term goals. You know, I'm dying to understand some of the AI capability that exists that, you know, we probably already have inbuilt in what we've bought. And so understanding that to make some of our finance processes a lot more efficient is probably the next wave of activity for us. So really, you know, really understanding kind of where we can leverage AI within our existing suite of tools and products is probably the next wave for us. Yeah.
Question back.
So, do you currently use Oracle for bank reconciliations?
Yes. And I looked to Dave to confirm that for me.
He nodded.
And then it works well for the bank?
Yes, I haven't heard it doesn't, so I'm assuming no news is good news.
I work for a bank, but it's a very large bank. We try to use the reconciliation in Oracle, but we didn't have a lot of the details. We bring over some of the data, not details, so maybe that's one of the challenges in using the bank.
Yeah. We can talk after.
Yeah. Yes.
We are currently good. Is there anything with the implementation that you didn't live up to expectation?
Not with the implementation itself. I think, you know, some of the lessons learned were things like, you know, making sure that you don't underestimate the amount of change that your people are going to go through. Making sure that, you know, one of the other learnings for us was KPMG as a great kind of partner of ours, we didn't really build the IP in-house to support us when we went live. So KPMG manage or support us in production, but we needed some internal IP as well to kind of triage some of the issues or some of the questions or some of the concerns that were coming out of the system when we went live. So, you know, make sure you get your support model right. An internal and an external support model is kind of the way that I would recommend. But yeah, they were a couple of the key learnings for us. Don't underestimate change management. Try and keep your resources as consistent as possible during the implementation, and make sure you've got the right support model once you go live. Yeah, with a lot of crossed fingers, I think. So we'd been on the core banking implementation journey for probably 18 months by then, and the implementation of our core had been delayed a number of months. because there were other dependencies. So we were not only doing the Oracle stuff, but we were also doing Credit Risk Engine, which was a dependency. We were also doing our data platform, which was another dependency. And so the core banking platform could not go live until those two were in place. The teams were quite different, quite segregated, but they came together at some key and core times that were required essentially. And so we, as I said earlier, we kind of fast-tracked some of the Oracle build and implementation to support the core go live. And so the core go live was clearly our number one priority as a bank, and we needed to make sure that that went in safely. And we then kind of almost coupled the ERP implementation to that once we went live with core. A big team supporting core, a much smaller team supporting ERP, but our focus was very much on core in the first instance, and then on the implementation of Oracle. I'm not sure if that's answered your question, but yeah, lots of time, lots of focus, lots of late nights. Yeah, and I suppose that's why having an external third party to kind of help us kind of do the heavy lifting on the implementation was so important. We also used external implementation partners for Thought Machine for our core implementation, and so we had a very thin Judo team and some implementation partners on core and KPMG on Oracle, so that the competition for resourcing was not evident, but certainly how we kind of integrated the two teams when we needed to was actually really important for us. How we made really fast decisions when we needed to was really important to us, and how we governed both programs, knowing what each program was doing was actually really important as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this morning. Have a great rest of conference. And Raz, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, David. Thank you.